this video, I will be introducing you to the crop tool. The crop tool is the third tool down on the left side of your toolbar. And when you turn that tool on, you're going to see this bounding box appear around your image. Before I begin playing with that, I want to come up to your options bar and just ensure that we have the same settings. Okay, so I will be working with the width and height ratio. But if you click to open that, you're going to see that you have other options, and we'll play with some of those shortly. Okay, you'll see that you have fields here for width and height, and this will become populated as we begin playing with other ratios. And then you'll also see further down, if you skip a few of these options, that you have something called delete cropped pixels. I want you to make sure that that is turned on. Okay. Now, again, to get started using the crop tool, what we typically use this for is to recenter an image or to focus on one part of an image. And in this case, I have a flower and I have blue sky and I have leaves and stems. And going forward, I really want this image to be focused very much on the yellow flower. So to do that, if I hover, you're going to see that your cursor looks one way when you're in the contents of the image, and it will change if I come up to the border, okay, and I'll get this double-headed arrow. I can edit my picture with this double-headed arrow at the top, bottom, left, right, and at the corners. And to get started, I'm just going to click and I'm going to hold and pull this down. I'll do the same thing down here, click, pull it up, and I'll go ahead and try to center my flower. Okay. And so now you can see the difference. I'm getting rid of all this extraneous information, and now the focus of this image is certainly the flower. Now, as I'm doing this, you'll also see that this grid appears, and I find this really helpful, particularly when I want to center something. And so you'll see here the center of my flower is residing within this space. It's a little off, so I can click it and drag. You see that you can move that around any way you want to. You can also use your keyboard arrows to sort of nudge this around if you need to. Now I'm going to go ahead and call this done, and to accept this I can either hit my enter key or I can come back up to my options bar where I have this check mark, and I'm going to go ahead and click the check mark this time. And again, you'll see that the image has been changed. The size of the image is different because I've obviously cut off pieces of the picture. And you know, at one point you may get to a point where you think, oh, I'm not 100% happy with this. You know, I really wish I hadn't cropped out all of this leaf. And if I grab my move tool, you'll see if I try to bring in more of my leaf, I can't do that because I had that option selected for delete cropped pixels. So everything that was outside this has been deleted. So I want to step back, and I've done a bunch of things now. I've moved and made a variety of changes, so I can't really just come up here to edit because all it's going to do is undo the last move. And what I really want to do anyways is kind of start over. So I'm going to show you a new option called Revert, and you'll go to File, select Revert or your F12 key. And what that's going to do is take you back to the last saved version of the file. Okay, so if you have saved it multiple times, it's not going to take you to the very beginning. It's going to just take you to the last saved version. And so this time I'm going to use my crop tool. I'm going to uncheck delete cropped pixels. And this time let's just try some other ratios. So I was basically creating a square last time, so I'll just go ahead and create a square, and you'll see here it's using the ratio of 1 to 1. Okay, I can take it to a 5:7, which you have probably ordered photographs at 5:7. You'll see you have the option for 4:6. Okay, but in this case, again, I want a square, and it's given me the 1 to 1, but it's not really where I want this to be. Again, my flower sort of sitting off to the side, and so I can move from the corner, and you'll see it's going to maintain the square. And so now I've got it pretty much sized where I want, and then again I can click within and recenter this. Okay. And this time, rather than hitting the check mark, which you certainly can do, I'm going to hit enter. That'll show you that that also works. And since I didn't have delete cropped pixels on, if I grab my arrow, you'll see that I can move my flower around. Okay, it's going to maintain the same proportion, so I'm still using the square, but now I have the option of, what I want that square to look like. So perhaps I want to bring in more of my leaf and force my flower towards the top. I can do that. Okay. I'll go ahead and revert one more time. I'm going to go back to my crop tool and I'll go back to width and height. Okay, and I also want to point out here that you can type in dimensions. So maybe I need this to be 4 by 6.5. Okay, I can certainly put in those dimensions. I can go ahead and size things down a little bit. If I take it in the wrong direction, maybe I needed this to be 1.5 by 4. I can use this button here to flip those dimensions. Okay. So that's an introduction to the crop tool. We will come back at a later date and talk about some of the other options as they come up in class.